All right, guys. We are live and ready to start our Saturday night segment with HamBone. He's going to be covering our broad and global markets. We have a very small crowd tonight so far, so we will wait for a few more people to hop in here. So I can kind of give you a rundown on uh, his knowledge base and exactly what it is that he'll be doing on Saturday nights. This is his little segment time frame. So I do look forward to everyone getting to kind of hear a different voice, which is also my husband. So basically, my the other half of my brain. So everything that you guys kind of hear from me definitely comes from him as well. We bounce ideas off each other all the time. So a little bit of background: he's in real estate. We've you know covered a bunch of stuff together in that aspect. Anything from the mind map to the climate change affected areas with their increased housing insurance rates and everything. So he's definitely helped a lot in a lot of the research you guys see from me, making sure that I'm not completely nuts. He also likes to keep track of um, global news and wars and things and how that all works uh, and affects our economy. So if he's ready to talk, yeah, I can hand it over. Um, Tyler? Hambo? I don't know. So and he doesn't really use Twitter Space, so just bear with him if he does mess something up. And we are going to kind of keep it to just him for right now, and then once he kind of goes through the things that he wants to cover, we will bring people up to talk about that. So if um, Sorry guys, we're technical difficulties. I can't hear him, and I don't think anybody else can either. Hey Tampa Kurt. Hey Jay. I see you in here. Uh, so yeah, I will. I guess I will keep talking until he comes back. Unless you guys could hear him, I just wasn't popping up on anything of my reading. Um, did you get that figured out? Twitter Space is funny sometimes. Like you have to give permissions to make sure like you have like the mic settings and all this other goofiness. So, but yeah, Jay, I will bring you up in just a sec. Um,
Hello? Did that work? All right. Yeah. Sorry about that. I haven't used my AirPods in a long time, and I've never even really used Twitter until the last couple of weeks. Um, so this is obviously my first Twitter space, but what I was trying to say while I was inadvertently muted, um, I don't know exactly what all we'll cover, where we'll start, where we'll end up, but hopefully it's entertaining at least in some manner for somebody out there. But yeah, like Kenneth said, I spend a lot of time just kind of keeping my thumb on a lot of different things around the world. I try to read the news as much as I can, and in doing so, I read the news from a lot of different sources and try to infer my own decision, or at least opinion, I guess, as to what I find. But just kind of looking around, things really, kind of seem like they're on a runaway train. Um, just to put it lightly, I don't. I don't want to be the person that's just like a doom scroller, just sitting there mindlessly looking at, negative articles all the time or anything like that. But, be it the algorithms that are out there or just my searching habits, it seems to be what I just happen to come across the most these days. Just kind of, just kind of going off the top of my head, uh, just some things that I've kind of noticed here at home meaning in the U.S. We have a lot of issues as far as our border is concerned. We have issues with a botched withdrawal of Afghanistan. We also have, some contradictory things being said as far as our Federal Reserve goes, talking about inflation. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but uh, gas, groceries, the essentials, rent, even, it's all going up, and wages have kind of been stagnant. They've not really improved. We've kind of started to see the effects of a labor shortage. I mean, just the other day, we don't really go through the drive-through too much anywhere, but we uh, we stopped at what was that, Burger King, something like that. This was a few days ago, and I mean, something that normally takes maybe 5, 10 minutes as a complete and total process ended up taking probably about a half hour. And the reasoning was uh, they'd had pretty much all of their staff just either not show up for work or call in, uh, just otherwise just not be at work. So it was like I think three people working, and there was an entire line of cars behind us, and they kept coming up to the window with the asking for the receipt because they didn't know what the order was. They kept coming back and like tried to give us like the same drinks like four times. It was just kind of nuts. Like, we're patient about the whole thing. We're very understanding, but it was just like, wow, like, of all things to kind of see the effects of firsthand, like, you see all these now hiring signs, but for some reason the positions aren't being filled. Like, I guess that's what I'm failing to see in the aspect of, labor in the US. I'm not sure where it is. Like, are people staying home and, creating their own businesses, which, I fully support. That's definitely, I think that's a better alternative than working for someone else, obviously. Like, if you can be your own boss, you know, kind of do things your own way and provide a good service or an amazing product to the world, or at least, to your local community. But I think that's always a benefit. But uh, yeah, we can start bringing people up. That's no problem. I'm kind of rambled long enough, I think.
Not quite. I can top you every day. All right, Jay, I know you wanted to come up and talk. Sorry. So I'm going to invite you to speak. Jake is coming up to speak. Add. All right, guys. So this is kind of your time. Today, I'm kind of taking the lead a little bit just to kind of show them the ropes on how Twitter Spaces work, and really kind of getting you guys to get to know them. So just go easy on them, but definitely don't hesitate to ask them some hard questions. So, Jake, welcome up.
No, I was just gonna let you know if I could hear him or not, because you were asking if somebody could, if you could hear him or not. That's all. I'm kind of twittered out, but I just wanted to listen in. But here I am.
Oh, I understand being twittered out. Trust me. We can.
A lot of weird, lot of weird stuff going on lately. On Twitter.
Oh yeah,
Besides,
I don't
besides,
understand it.
besides the world, a lot of things don't add up to me.
Like what? What's going on? Talk to us.
Oh, I don't know. with all the division and this and that. I'm losing steam.
Oh, don't lose steam. I mean, just take a break. I mean, you can ask Tyler, like, take a break. He takes a break from social media almost on a monthly basis, because it gets to be too much sometimes. It really does. So, I mean, if you need to, just step back. You know the DD for the MOS. You don't need confirmation bias anymore, right?
I don't know, man. I don't know if I do.
Well, okay. So, are you are you are
I don't
you
know.
are you in both or?
Yeah,
Okay, so, buddy, you've been.
I've heard you do it. Give me confirmation bias. I don't know. Maybe I'm having a bad week or day or whatever. I don't
Hey,
know.
I am right there with you. I'm right there with you. Yeah. I mean, start zooming out. Just you know what you hold. Just zoom out. That's what I'm finding for myself. But that's been me for months. You guys know that. Um, but just zoom out and start focusing on something else. Or hell, go for a hike. Go for anything. That's all I can say. There's bigger
Yeah,
things to look at. It'll happen. The MOAS will happen. I'm not. I am more confident in that as I look into the market because I look at the crash, and if the crash happens, the MOAS happens, right? So, zoom out and get your confirmation bias that way. Look at the shit show that we're looking at because the BS we're seeing on Twitter. I'm a very small voice. I'm finding right now, and I can't. The positive vibe that I try to put out. It's hard. It's very hard because there's a lot of cynical people out there. But Jay, it's I know it's hard. I do. But that's why we have Tyler doing broad market stuff, and that's why I told him, I said, it's your turn. You're up. I need you to come talk because this is the stuff that we need to be talking about. Turn your focus towards we know it. I will gladly go over DD if people need to hear it. If my new investors need to hear the AMC and GME data, I can go over 100%. I can probably do it in my sleep at this point. But I'm happy to zoom out with everybody. That's I know that stuff too. So um, just I know it's been a hard week. It's just been a weird week. Trust me.
yeah,
Like I don't know. There's something in the air, I guess.
yes,
Um, but no, if you need to take a break off social media, do it.
yeah.
Just log off.
No, I don't know. I'm speechless tonight, so I'm just gonna step off and listen for a bit and see what you guys have to say. That's all.
Hey, no worries. Yeah, we'll be probably talking. We're talking geopolitical, global stuff. So it could get to a point where a little bit uncomfortable. But that's where we have to
No,
have the
yeah,
uncomfortable conversations, right? That's what I'm known for now. And Jake, I see your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Before I ask the question, Jason, you're all right, man. We're gonna get there. The hedges are wrecked. Diamond handing this baby. There's a lot of people, and the numbers don't lie. And yeah, I'm jacked to the tits. So day by day, man. And my question, for HamBone is: do you have any knowledge on what is going on with the IMF and inter or intra-country lending, and how that affects maybe um, economics here in the United States? Thanks.
Um, yeah, I'm not really like super familiar with it, but um, I can do my best to kind of just fumble through it. I don't want to put out any misinformation. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be one or anything like that. But really quick before I get into that, I just want to point out like social media, always take a break. Like and it's not just social media, it's really any kind of media. Get yourself out in nature, go for a hike, take a walk in your neighborhood. Just be aware of your surroundings whenever you do so, but just go out and really just take it in instead of like I said earlier, you know, I get into a habit sometimes where I'm just kind of
You cut out or you were done. One or the other. Yeah, I'm just sitting here waiting for my hurricane to come. I have no power for a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one, that hurricane. Sorry, my AirPods for some reason completely cut out, but yeah, I was just saying, like, you know, take a break, you know, get out in nature if you can. I know you said you have the hurricane coming your way. I hope everybody stays safe through that. You know, being in Florida, we have our stories to tell with them as well, and they're never fun, no matter how threatening or lack of threat they have. I don't know, you know, exactly how much I can put out there as far as information on that, but um, they're never fun, you know, especially because you get a lot of panic buying.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's what the news pumps, right? Go out and buy stuff, get more stuff, get more stuff.
If you want to take over, and I can figure this out.
Yo, I wish there was a hurricane out here in San Francisco, Jake.
Why?
That way I just run outside and dance in the rain. I just want to be in the rain, man. Sounds exciting. We don't get that
Yeah.
type of weather out here.
Yeah. I'll
Maybe
be out
like
and about. I'll be
light
out
a
and about
cigar.
in the hurricane probably. I like to take my dogs for walks in the storm.
Yeah. I'd feel so alive being outside during a hurricane. It's
Yeah.
like you're lucky, man.
Okay. No, the only thing I don't like is not having electricity because they're predicting. I don't know how they predict it, but that we could be having no electricity for a week or whatever.
You got a generator or
Nah,
heat or
man.
something? Propane? Batteries?
Yeah, propane. We got barbecue.
Right on.
Make sure all my devices. I think it's supposed to hit tonight at 2:30 or a.m. or something like that.
Are they expecting flooding for this hurricane, or is just heavy
Oh yeah,
rain and wind?
yeah. They were saying they were seeing like 20-foot waves already and stuff like that.
Sounds
But
like a tsunami.
I don't live on the coast. I live in between, like the North Shore and the South Shore. I'm like in between, so I don't have dangers of flooding. But I have friends that do. I
Yeah,
think.
stay safe out there, man. I'm gonna be watching my Twitter timeline for videos and pictures from people from that area.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
sorry, Jake. I just wanted to get back to your original question. I'm going to look more into IMF and intra-country lending that you were talking about. You know how that's going to impact us here. And if you want to give me a follow on here, I'll do my best to find some good information. If not, come up with, you know, my own, I guess, DD of my own to put out. Just look for that in the next little while.
All right, I shot you a follow, man.
Okay, I appreciate it, man. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and bring up Supreme. It looks like we've got our hand up. Let's see.
All right, so I don't know if you are super familiar with this, but I've been hearing more and more about a liquidity crisis looks more and more like it actually could happen. And I've seen charts and stuff, but I haven't actually looked into the data. I've just seen the charts.
I'm sorry. Could you ask me that again? I'm sorry. I'm really new to the whole Twitter Space thing, and I was trying to get back to the main part of the menu here.
Yeah, so it's fine. So basically, I was wondering if you knew anything about um, a liquidity crisis within I guess our markets, um, since it seems more and more people are talking about it.
Just kind of a brief run through of what I know, which is a little bit limited. Like I said, I just I try to keep my eye on everything the best that I can. I'm not an expert on any of this, but I try my best. But I know with the coronavirus pandemic, a lot of the corporate market was really strapped for cash. So they basically started borrowing lots of cash. And sorry, I'm trying to remember this article that I read. There was an article that I read not too long ago, and I think that it was from Harvard Business Review. But they were talking about managing the liquidity crisis. So I do have some awareness of it being there. I'm not really clear enough on details, which is something that I run into a lot because I do a lot of skim reading, unfortunately. But
I can try to touch on it. So,
yeah,
so for everyone that knows, so Tyler, he does HamBone. He does a lot of like the real estate and global stuff. So like the liquidities with the banks, um, they are sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sitting in with our daughter. They have had problems with liquidity, and that's why we're seeing them really start trying to crack down on personal loans and mortgages and everything like that. Like I posted a tweet a couple days ago about a pretty good similarity between '07
yeah,
and
that's right. That's right. That was one of the articles that I
okay.
just came across the other not too long ago too. That's
If you
sorry.
want to touch on it, you can. Now that I've
No,
racked your brain.
it's fine. You've already pretty much hit where I was going with it, but
Oh yeah, so
that was one I was trying to recall.
yeah, they are we're starting to see a lot of the same similarities of what they did back in '06, '07, '08 time frame of, limiting what we can borrow with. And you have to have pristine credit, and that's basically because they don't have it, right? Like they have to manage their money accordingly. But on the other side too, guys, with the hedge funds, when it comes to their liquidity, this is where we kind of get into a double-edged sword, um, because you have to look at their entire portfolio. Yeah, we can sit there and look at their short positions and, oh well, they have to cover and everything. Well, they're also having other positions that are making money because that's what a hedge fund does. They're putting puts on the SPY. They're putting they're getting into inverses. They're having other crypto investments and real estate investments. So they're building liquidity as we speak, and so that's it plays into one another. It does need to be researched more before we really start putting our foot in our mouths and saying, "Oh yeah, they're out of liquid. They're non-liquid." And the financial sec, they're just in a very precarious situation because of how the residential and the commercial real estate sec is going at this point. If we'll dive into that later, but um, the liquidity is an issue. It is an issue. That's why I've said watch the banks, follow the banks, see what they're doing. Um, and since these banks do have connections with the hedge funds, these hedge funds are going to screw the banks 100%. And I just wonder which one's going to go down. I'm not 100% sure if that particularly answered your question, Supreme. Um, I hope so. If not, I can definitely try to reiterate a point if you need me to. Is everyone still able to hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, Supreme, was that kind of your question, or is that good?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I just wanted, I guess, an overview of what's happening since I've only seen the charts. I haven't really looked at the data.
Yeah, the charts. Oh gosh. I don't trust charts anymore. I don't. I can't. I try to find all the data, right? You have to look at everything at this point and see how the banks are looking and what they're investing in, and where they're trying to gain liquidity from, and are they pulling back from this source or that source? Are they uh, investing into the meme stocks? Because if you see more and more places investing into that sort of investment, then yeah, okay, we know we're set, and we're seeing that, and then at the same time, we've had uh, I did the infinite loop map. I don't know if you've seen that one. If not, I can tweet it out again. It needs updating. It's months old, guys. At this point, I'm running out of time in my days. 24 hours in a day is not enough. But from what I see is that they all are basically just swapping money amongst themselves at this point. So if one becomes unable to keep liquidity, the other ones do, and that's just data and following patterns and seeing how everything goes.
I have a question. I've been seeing lately a lot posting on the reverse repo market and how it's like the new high score is over $1 trillion. Um, and those are on overnight loans to stay liquid. Is that the point of that? Why people are putting out the reverse repo lending? It comes out at 130 or 115 every day.
You're asking about the reverse repos.
As some indicator of how the market is going, or is that just the liquidity of the banking system?
I would love to answer this question, and Sharkbait has tried to pound this stuff into my brain. Um, Message me that question, and I will cover it tomorrow.
Okay.
Is that okay? I don't want to speak out of
Yeah,
turn, and
that's fine. Man.
I'm not too big of a person to say I have no idea. If somebody in here does, if somebody else can actually answer that question, please, for the love, come up. And if someone can pound reverse repo stuff into my brain, I would love that too. But it is one of those things. Like I can understand almost the entire effing market, but that I can't.
Yeah, I don't know if HamBone wanted to answer that, but from what I understand, the reverse repo market, it's just like, so banks basically get, I guess, punished if they hold too much cash. So from what I know, they just have to find a place to store their cash so they don't get punished for it, and so they're putting in their reverse repo market. But I mean, that's really all I know.
I appreciate that, Supreme. I know First Strike was trying to come up. Marcus, if you want to come up and talk, sorry, Americas, if you want to come talk, you guys are more than welcome. We are talking broad market. Tyler was tweeting out something someone asked. So he's trying to multitask. God love him. So yeah, all right, Americas, you're coming up. I got a lot of vets in here. You guys are freaking awesome. Hey, Americas.
How's it going?
Not too bad. Enjoying Saturday.
Yeah, I just put a 13-hour day in.
13-hour day. Good grief.
Yeah, after working a 50-hour week, so I got 63 hours in this week. Hopefully I can buy some more AMC with the money.
Hey, that's the ticket.
But yeah, I also picked up on a possible option, or not option, but a good thing to look at, maybe check out for next week. Hexo, it's a weed company that they've been expanding for the past year at least. I was in it earlier and did a little research on it, but they're a pretty big company already. They're based out of Canada. It's a pretty good company, but something to look into. They're really they went down from $11 down to $2 on Friday. So yeah, I picked up a little bit.
Did you tweet that out by any chance?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh yeah, if you tweet it out, I can put it out on the nest, and so everyone can kind of see that.
What do you want to see, the chart?
Just what the ticker and what they kind of are. If you, I mean, that you don't have to. I'm just saying if you see a tweet or anything.
I don't have that kind of stuff on it. It's HEXO. It's look it up. You find everything.
All right, I appreciate that. HEXO, got it.
I made a play on it like probably 8 months ago or so. I made a little money, but nothing too crazy. But this is the lowest I've seen it in a long time. They just made an offering, and I think the offering ends Tuesday. So.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna look into it. We might have to talk about it. I know all next week we have NFT stuff going on. But yeah, we might have a space where we kind of just pull up random tickers, and we're gonna just start looking into them for sure.
Right on. Yeah, I'm just trying to make a little side money so I can buy more AMC with it.
So, Tyler, are you able to? We've touched on the conflicts that are going into with China and Australia. I kind of touched on it yesterday. The trade wars that they were having and like docking ships and withholding trade and things like that. Do you remember much about that?
Well, funny enough, the main source of information, or at least information that I get concerning Australia and anything going on there, was actually suspended from YouTube for like 6 days or something like that, maybe a week. I'm not sure when exactly they came back, but yeah, I watch a lot of Sky News Australia on YouTube, and for more than a month, probably 2 months, they were doing a lot of stories regarding just some issues that China was presenting or that they were finding and dealing with China as far as trade goes. Like I seem to remember uh, they were they Australia wasn't allowing or yeah, Australia wasn't allowing their own oil to be imported into China, and I can't remember what China was doing in return. Oh, trying to think. I just remember that I know that there's a lot of concern um, with Australia in regards to how they've been trading with China and how reliant they've been, because Australia is in kind of an interesting situation whenever it comes to its cultural makeup, the people that live there compared to where it is, in relation to the rest of the Western world. It's a Western country in ideology and economy and just culture altogether. But at the same time, it's closer in distance to China and Indonesia and just the entire onslaught of just different economies that they're able to interact with. So they're kind of in a precarious spot as far as who do they work with, as far as do we do all of our trading with China? We have such a you know
deeply rooted relationship with Western countries like obviously the UK, but we've always had a strong allegiance or an alliance with Australia as far as the United States is concerned. But their trade with China, it's really difficult because they don't want to do something that could cause China to react in a way that would maybe cause like tariffs for no valid reason, or uh, it's one of those things. Like, I try to watch how I present like information like this, because I know I'm on Twitter and Twitter kind of likes to make funny things happen as far as silencing or suspending people whenever things get said that aren't necessarily popular opinion. But it's not, I don't have any like ill opinions of anybody or anything like that. But I think that maybe we should start to maybe form some kind of stronger trade relation with Australia. I don't know exactly what more we could do between us and them, but maybe less overall dependence on China would ease any fears that any country or economy, such as Australia or even the United States, could face, in dealing with China, who, they could potentially, make hollow promises. That's something that's kind of one of those things that can happen. But trying to think of more examples of things that were going on before Sky News was taken down for a period of time. And now, since they've been back, it's been a lot of coverage of COVID in Australia. I don't know if anybody is paying any attention to what's going on there, but they're doing a lot of forced lockdowns. People aren't really able to leave their homes without seeing fines of, like, I think the first fine was like $500, and then the following was $1,000 or something like that. I could be wrong. Don't quote me or hold me to that. But yeah, I don't know exactly what else more you were wanting me to say about Australia and China. I thought I covered it there.
How do you think that trade would actually affect our economy? Like, could we see repercussions from that? Like, our trades with China and our being allies with Australia and things like that. And, COVID shut Australia back down and everything. So, is that going to affect us?
I mean, it could. Huh? Just my opinion. Yeah, I think that it could. I mean, we, ever since the 70s, I believe, is when we gave China kind of a seat at the global table. Um, Ever since then, the whole world has really formed a dependence on China, and it's cheaper labor. And say what you want to say about it. I don't agree with it. I try to buy things that are made not necessarily, just American made. Of course, I always aim for that first. Just my personal preference.
And that's not an easy task.
No, it's
Everything.
not. It's
I mean,
harder
you look
every
at
day.
everything in your house or what you're wearing. It's really hard to find something that's not made in China.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, like I was saying, I try to look for U.S. made. I try to look for, if not U.S. made, North American made. But it does present, a very difficult task as far as trying to shop that way as a, an average consumer, because whenever you do try to buy domestically made goods, they're a little bit more expensive, and a lot of times that little bit is a lot more than just a little bit. But I think,
and then you could get into the ethics of it too, as well.
oh,
like you're going into get cheaper made products by China, who
Oh yeah,
has
definitely.
like basically slave labor over there, and we're partners with a country like that.
Yeah,
I don't.
I mean,
It's pretty depressing.
it is. I mean, you have companies that have a presence in China, like I think it's Apple. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, Apple has suicide nets. And
right.
I say that
I
I
was
was a
just gonna
former
say that.
employee. I was an employee for Apple for I think like 3 years or so. I can't remember exactly anymore, but yeah, I did. Senior advisor, work from home position, and everything. But it's just one of those things. Like we've built up such a dependence on style, and we've become so susceptible to product placement and marketing and advertising. It's really difficult to get away from even just brands. I mean, Nike has built up such a strong foothold in popular culture that I mean, people willingly still buy their clothes and their other products, knowing how those products are made and where they're made. I mean, people still line up for new shoes every week whenever the new ones drop.
Yeah,
It's
it's like you don't have a choice, though.
no.
Like as you know,
I mean,
as we were saying, everything's made in China.
yeah. I mean, you either buy Nikes, and if you want to go to the cheaper option, if you go to Walmart and buy a pair of shoes there, they're probably made probably less than 30 miles away, if not in the same
Right.
location altogether. But it is kind of crazy whenever you stop and think about just our everyday items, how they're made, where they come from, and the sacrifices that people have to go through, just to get a measly wage, if a wage at all. I'm not sure if there's. I'm sure maybe there are people out there that they really don't get any actual monetary wage. They probably just get some basic foods or something. But it's it is kind of something that is kind of going back to what we were talking about regarding Australia and China and their whole, trade feud that they've had going on the past little while here. Um, anything involving China can have an impact here. I mean, they've been going through some substantial natural disasters over the past 6 months or so. They've had massive flooding that has wiped out, rice crops that have uh, been something that they've relied on as a source of income, and now they're buying crops from us. I haven't checked anything recently, but a couple months ago, the last I heard, we were selling a lot of agricultural supplies to China, as far as like different grains and like corn, soybeans, uh, rice, even. But it's we as a global economy have such a reliance on China and their cheap labor that yes, I do see that if things got really heated with Australia and China, with this whole trade dispute that they've been dealing with, you know anything can be affected by that. I'm not sure exactly what their main material is that they're shipping back and forth. I don't know if it's just oil. I think that Australia is a large deposit of another another mineral. I believe it's. I don't want to put anything out there and like say the wrong thing or anything. I want to say that it's like maybe magnesium or something like that. But either which way, there's so much going on with China that it's already having an effect here. We're already seeing prices at the grocery store go up, and that's not just because of droughts in the western half of the United States. That's not just because of policy being created that's incentivizing farmers to dump their crops or just not grow anything altogether. Um, it's, you know, China closing down its third largest port for one COVID case. You know, that, you know, no matter what your stance is on COVID and how that should be handled as far as locking stuff down or anything like that goes, you can't argue the fact that the third largest port in China being shut down doesn't affect, you know, or have a ripple effect on the rest of the world. At least in my opinion. You know, I guess putting up my table and sign, you know, change my mind on this one. I don't know. But if anyone's got anything that they want to say, you know, any insight as far as anything that they've noticed as far as dealings with China, not just with Australia, but, you know, different parts of the world, you know, anything.
I'm bringing Marcus up. He probably has something good to say about it.
Okay.
Metallurgical coal is what the Chinese want from Australia.
Okay.
We actually, right now, so that's coal that they use to make steel. We're actually having a big fight right now where I live with Banzinga, I think is what the mining company is out of Australia. They're in Canada right now, in Alberta, where I am, and they want to start basically erasing mountains because we have a huge amount of metallurgical coal here that they want to sell to China.
Yeah, that's crazy. That I was wondering, you know, how does that impact like the local aspect of it? You know, does that make I guess like local steel goods, does that impact those prices, or is it mainly just, you know, it's mainly just Australian companies there sending it directly back to Australia? They're not really dispersing or distributing it in North America.
Yeah, so what they're basically doing is looking to take the coal from Canada, where I am. So they basically want to do topping of mountains, so they don't actually dig into a mine. They actually start at the top of the mountain and move down, taking the coal out. So I'm a big opposition person to it because it's a huge area where I fly fish. There's a lot of repercussions with selenium and everything else getting in the water systems, the drinking water system,
Of course.
the everything else with it. So, and just to touch on that, it doesn't really do anything for our economy. So we have one of the lowest royalty rates in the world in Alberta in Canada. And me being in opposition, I actually had a live Facebook chat with, he used to be our environment minister for about 8 years, and now he's actually a lobbyist. He's the president of the Canadian Coal Coalition of Canada. Okay. And he basically laid it out that the amount of damage they were going to do and all the mines they wanted to have passed and everything else, that basically we would have 450 construction jobs in the construction of the mines and the whole roadway systems and everything for doing the mining, and then only 350 permanent jobs. So there's about 3.5 million people in Alberta. So yeah, super minuscule.
Yeah, that's there's no reason to destroy, you know, something. You know, I've never personally been to Canada. You know, Kenna, she's managed to get up there a few times, but myself, I haven't been. But you know, just sounds nerdy, but the time that I've done flying around on Flight Simulator, I know that it's a beautiful place, and I can't imagine, you know, wanting to destroy the tops of probably what I imagine just postcard quality mountains for 350 jobs.
Yeah, the way I can describe where I live in Canada, have you ever seen the movie The Reverend with Leonardo DiCaprio? So that's about 45 minutes from my front door.
Okay. Yeah, so very beautiful area. No reason to destroy it for 350, probably they say permanent jobs, but would probably go away as soon as reserves ran out. So
Yeah, it's basically they're going to top. I think it's 16 leases they had proposed. So they're topping 21 mountains, I believe it is.
it's yeah, I don't agree with that. That's something I'm probably going to be looking into a lot now. I really appreciate coming up and talking about that. Like I said, being in the army, I made some Australian friends. You know, especially being out in Hawaii and doing a lot of training with Australian units and counterparts. But I can't imagine the predicament that they're in as a country with the pressure that they have on them from, you know, trading in Asian markets, especially with China being in their back pocket the whole time. I mean, they're just kind of always there with, you know, some kind of threat. But that's no reason to go and try to just, you know, ravage a place for 350 jobs. I'm sorry, I'll get off my soapbox on that one. I think we had someone else that had a question. I'm not sure. Uh, is Australia's currency going down? I'm not certain of anything that I'd feel comfortable talking about because I haven't looked at the actual Australian dollar in probably 4 weeks, maybe a month or so, maybe a month and a half or so. So I'm not really familiar with anything that's going on currently. The last that I knew that they were going through a slight recession, but it looked like they were going to do okay and pull through just fine. Um, but now that they've started closing things back down, I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how it's weathering things right now. I have to look back into that one, especially now that Sky News is back.
What do you find to be the most unbiased news source?
As far as mainstream news
As
goes,
far as any source for news that's unbiased. Well, I don't think there's any mainstream news media that's not
yeah,
biased. So
that's what I was gonna say. It's really hard to pinpoint one. Like even Sky News Australia, they have a fairly conservative bias to them. They're somewhat like I think they would kind of be equated to the Fox News of Australia. Um, but like I said, um, they tend to report the most honestly out of the ones that I've seen out of Australia um, in regards to their economy. Now, I don't really have anything to comment on their other reporting, but whenever they talk about their economy and what they're facing, they're more honest and upfront with what they're experiencing. Like, um, I think that they seem to be getting ready to, or if they're not already facing a downturn in their housing market, where they're starting to see, you know, a decline in the value of their homes nationwide. So that's something I've kind of been looking into a little bit more the last few days over anything. And then the Afghanistan situation uh, became news, and I started focusing on that. I'm not sure exactly how the Australian dollar is doing currently, but that's something that I want to get back into looking into again. Just going off of older information that I can remember, it was doing fairly well, but it was starting to maybe flounder a little bit. You know, borderline. You know, regress. Is there any more YouTube questions, or is that it?
Johnny, don't be afraid to come on and talk up here. Sorry guys on YouTube, Johnny Rocket. You guys, we're all just regular brains. We just read. That's what I keep telling everybody is just read. If you don't learn something a day every day, you've wasted your day. That's what I said yesterday. So that's my biggest takeaway with it, that I want everyone to have is just read. That's why I posted that giant 2,700 page infrastructure. I'll go read. And there was actually a 13-minute listen to, so you didn't actually have to read it. But um, we have some big things brewing. I mean, if you know we keep talking about the global scale, how all the countries tie in together. I didn't realize that stuff going on in Australia was affecting Canada. That's impressive. Like, Marcus, I love that you shared that with us. And I really hope they don't sit there and tear down these mountains. That's terrible. They can't they can do it, but they can't do that, damn it. Like, they're gonna start, you know God, that's ecosystems. That's, we're destroying our planet one day at a time, and we're going to get to a point where we're not it's not going to be inhabitable. We keep, they figure the Amazon forest is getting destroyed, our waters are destroyed, between the Pacific having the island of plastic, there's the Gulf being just
Sharks being
infiltrated by fertilizer
eradicated.
plants.
Sharks being
What?
eradicated from the oceans for
Yeah, like it's just
overfishing.
Yeah, there's
Everything.
one of the mine expansions which was going to actually start the first topping of a thing got um, reviewed and shut down by our federal government, which was a positive step. Now, the problem with the other mining places is they aren't a federal policy thing, they're a provincial policy thing. So it's going to be a big fight. And one of the things that's on our side is that the Indigenous Affairs Minister has stepped in now because that area actually has a ton of different treaties. So there's probably about, I'd say probably 6 or 7 bands of Indigenous people that are around there that have reservations and stuff. There was only a couple that were on board with it. And typically, if you know anything about Indigenous studies or whatever, typically it has something to do with money. So the chief is basically saying sure, and then they give a bunch of money, and then he lives in a really nice house, and no one else really gets any on the reservation.
that is so messed up. Like, fuck. I really don't know what to do, guys. Like, we cannot keep destroying our planet. Like, we only get one, right? Like, and I don't think we're going to Mars anytime soon to actually inhabit it, because, well, you're talking um,
But
oxygen bubbles that we need. We
yeah,
have other things.
it's uninhabitable. Right? Ken, I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. But I'm saying
Oh no,
Mars
no,
is
you're fine.
uninhabitable as it is.
Yeah, no, as it is right now. Like, I mean, yeah, we'd have to have like eco bubbles, basically. Where we have built greenhouses and things where people can actually live, and you can't go outside. Like, think of it makes me think of like Sandy on SpongeBob, where she has her own little bubble under the water, right? Like, that's what we'd have to live in. That's what we'd have to live in on Mars. Like, it's not a thing.
Yeah, it's not
And
coming
God,
anytime soon.
getting the resources out there would be ridiculous. Like, it's not a thing, guys. So we need to take care of our planet. And like, I get really irritated with like, here in Florida, we have our fertilizer plants, and the one that's one of the big ones in Tampa, it's not even operational, but it's still leaking crap into the Tampa Bay, which goes out to the Gulf, and it creates the red tide. And the red tide it's just killing all kinds of creatures. And I we need to be more responsible. We really, really, really do. Hey, Rafiki.
Yo, Saturday guys. Before I even start talking, I'm very thankful for being allowed the opportunity to even come up and speak. But I'm going to shut up for a minute and listen to your story. I think this space is really, really interesting. And this is something that means a lot to me, this whole global warming and whatnot side of things is pretty deep.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's what we do. I mean, we welcome any and all voices because that's how we get to the bottom of everything. Everyone comes from a different place, so you are more than welcome to say whatever you need to say.
Look, before I spray my opinion in it, I'll probably say this, and Pete will maybe agree with this or not. It's up to him. But wherever I go, and whatever opinion I've got, I've noticed a pattern, right? Whenever you speak your own truth, if it's something that many people don't agree with, you tend to get shunned for it, and no one really wants to ask the questions and have the real debates and get involved and just like adults talk about stuff. And I've experienced that a lot with other subjects this evening, and it doesn't surprise me. It really don't surprise me. And yeah, it's quite sad, really, to be fair.
That is really unfortunate. No, BullHouse guys, anyone that's new to listening to us, we touch on the hard subjects. We welcome any opinions. You're not going to get shunned. If you have a different opinion. Now, if you tell me that the sky's purple, I might question your sanity, but maybe you're colorblind. There's two sides to the coin. Maybe you're colorblind and the sky is purple to you. Who knows? But no, we welcome all sides. I will hear everybody out and take everything into consideration. So, my only rule that is for my spaces, because we touch on politics, we touch on finances, and we dig deep into those topics. We even talked about COVID one night. I'm surprised that one didn't go over worse than it did. We talk about broad market. We talk about a lot of these subjects that you're taught at a very young age. You don't talk about it. We got to start talking about it. So my only rule is, if you wouldn't say it to somebody in person because they're going to punch you, you just don't say it in here. That's my only rule. You can say anything. Just be kind. That's all.
What if you like getting punched?
If that's your kink, you go for it. But I'm not going to stop anyone from going after you.
I'm just
You know
kidding.
what? I really like getting punched, especially in the balls, right? Because that's just how I roll. I'm just an absolute loose nut job, right? And I've got a question based upon global warming, and this may apply to like the stock markets and all this sort of shit, right? In terms of global warming, I've got a little piece of information that I acquired about my own country in question, the UK. And the climate of the UK, apparently, which is quite interesting, many hundreds and hundreds of years ago, was a tropical climate, which was in the UK. And we're like in the upper northern hemisphere. It's supposed to be really cold up here. But when you look at the history of weather charts, the weather charts, not only like stock market charts that go back several hundreds of years, the weather also goes back several hundreds of years. And I find it's really interesting that no one looks into or questions this in terms of global warming. The weather charts date back so far where we've not only got the yearly seasons where you've got 365 days in a year, and when the earth is at the furthest away from the sun, we have our winter. But even though that's the case, Australia has its summer, which is another subject I find fascinating, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. But in terms of what I'm saying, based on the geological, what? Yeah, when I'm ready. It's about 5 in the morning. Yeah, don't worry about that. But anyway, did you hear that?
Oh yeah, but live podcast. This is what I live for,
Yeah,
guys. Don't worry about it.
she's not happy that I'm not asleep yet. But I'm a geezer. I'll do what I want.
Rafiki, is she taking the piss out of you, mate?
I think she is, bruv. But she's not happy in it. She wants me to be in bed and spooning. I don't want to be the big spoon. I prefer being a little spoon, But she's just really made me lose my train of thought right now. What?
I am dying
Yeah,
right now.
we do that, babe, all day long. I've got to go and do grocery shopping tomorrow, innit? She was just reminding me that I've got to go and buy a shitload of groceries for the coming week. That's the reality, innit, guys? Like, we talk about the deepest shit that we want to talk about, but at the end of the day, that is what it is, isn't it? She wants to go food shopping. I've got to make sure that I'm awake for that shit. And I haven't even slept tonight. Last time I done this shit was on the last space call that Tara hosted, right? I literally stayed awake till 3 in the morning and I had to get up for work at 5. I slept 2 hours, got up, went to work, come home. Like, I done it. Like, absolute fucking ledge. I done it. I take my hat off to myself.
Gotta watch that sleep deprivation, man.
That was hard work, bruv. Honestly, it was dirty. I was at work like, I don't want to be here. This is shit.
So what was the thing you were saying about global warming and with the UK and being a tropical climate and everything? You had me. I was very intrigued.
That's what I was saying, Kenna. If you look at history, right, a lot of the government and the MSM talks about global warming like it's a terrible thing, like, oh, the ice caps are melting at such a terrible rate. But if you talk to the people, right, that live in the hemispheres where the ice caps are, right, they'll talk to you about a weather cycle that goes on for hundreds of years, right? A couple of 100 years. They'll say, look, it's not abnormal for the ice caps to disappear every couple of 100 years. It's a pattern that's been recorded through their ancestors, right? But the MSM doesn't talk about this. And the reason why I bring this up is because we suffer MSM's bullshit through the stock market, right? And again, what was that girl's name? Greta Thunberg or whatever. She will come up on TV like, how fucking dare you? All right, fair enough. I really appreciate the calls and the shit she was standing for, and that's fair enough. And this is what the MSM does. They make people believe the narrative. They make people believe that a meteorite is going to strike the earth and wipe your ass out in the next couple of years, right? I mean, there's always this narrative of the MSM where they want us to be so reliant on the very people that are causing the majority of the problems. I call it the totalitarian tiptoe, and I'm not going to get too deep and too political. Just getting back to the weather and the climate that I'm talking about within Europe. It is a known actual fact, and you can Google it, right? That in the Northern Hemisphere, once upon a time, there used to be a tropical climate in the UK, and the UK is pretty well known as it stands now to have like the most miserable. We could get all 4 seasons in 20 minutes in the UK, especially during April time. I don't know about America or Canada. You lot get a lot of wild winds, hurricanes, and crazy other shit. But in the UK, within 20 minutes, we get snow, sunshine, wind, rain, and everything else in between, you know. And it ain't a surprising thing. It's not like, oh my God, they've got heavy winds, they've got this, they've got that. The weather is forever changing, and we get the forecast based on a weekly, yearly basis. But when you look at the history of weather forecast, there is 100-year cycle of weather.
Yeah, and
Especially in the
to touch
hemisphere.
to touch on that, what you were talking about was, here's 2 things. Actually, if anyone wants to go on Google now, the reason we aren't hearing from Greta right now is she's actually publicly came out. So a lot of people probably don't know that Greta is autistic, and she turned 18 years old, so became independent, and she's actually come out and spoke. I can't remember where I read the one article. I'll have to look for it. But she's actually come out and spoke and said that her handlers, quote unquote, that she's free of them now. So her narrative has actually changed somewhat on it. So she basically came out and said that she was fed a lot of stuff that she said about global warming. So that's an interesting thing, that, you know, that's a sway of people, a sway of one person by somebody that wanted to push that narrative. Her parents and her handlers made a lot of money on the climate change.
Who was pushing her to spread that narrative, Marcus? I'm really interested to know and like do the DD on it. Who pushed Greta to speak the way she did? Because it was so poignant, and to a point, I know what I know about global warming, and I've got my own opinions on it. But when I listened to Greta talking, I almost thought, you know what, I believe you. Like, how dare you take the piss out of my
Yeah,
my
she was being spoon fed a lot of the information, and I think once she kind of, over the last couple of years, and once she kind of came into, you know, semi adulthood, and was able to push back against the people because Greta being autistic, she actually
Spoon
had
fed it by who, Marcus? That's what I'm really
by her
interested to know.
parents
I've
and
got my own opinions on it. It's not a trick question. I'm not trying to
yeah,
call
no,
you out, but I'm just very
by
curious
her
as
parents
to that.
and by her handlers. So she actually had handlers that were with her about the climate change thing. So she was actually in Canada or came through Canada, spoke a few times here. One of the things she spoke about was actually Glacier National Park, which is an international peace park, which borders into Alberta where I am. So if you guys ever, everybody usually hears about Canada and where I live in the mountains as Banff. So pretty much everybody knows what Banff is. So there's another park just south from us down by the US border. It's one of the only 3 international peace parks in the world, and that creates Glacier National Park, which is in Montana. And if you go down through East and West Glacier Park, it's absolutely picturesque, like absolutely beautiful. But they, at one of the places down there called Lake McDonald, they actually had a glacier that had been retracting. And one of the narratives that was pushed, they put up a great big sign in the National Peace Park about the thing receding and global warming and whatever else. And as of last year, they actually took the sign down because the glacier has grown.
Well, this is what I'm saying, Marcus. Right, all the information that you've said is all done and well. Like, it's all good. You can fact check it. It's all factual and good stuff. And I'd like to add this, right? And this is just based on a global warming narrative. The Amazon forest are the lungs of the world, right? They're what keeps the world going, pumping. They soak up a lot of the carbon that is so-called created by the Western world, or whatever world you want to call it. Even cows farting in New Zealand, it creates methane, and they want to charge a tax on all this bullshit. Like, there's a lot of bullshit based on this global warming narrative.
Oh, a ton of it is politically based. In Canada, we now pay our second carbon tax. It was just introduced by I just refer to him as our country clown, the clown running our country. And they just reintroduced a second carbon tax now. And if you can fact check it, Canada is actually a carbon neutral country because of the amount of forests that we have.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, whenever you guys are talking about all this, all it makes me think is like, I've had this thought a couple of times that I've come across. Just all the guilt that I'm sure you guys were subjected to in your schooling in Canada and the UK, just the same as I was in the US, where it was just like, it seemed like every week you were always, or every day even in some grades, you were always talking about like recycling, reusing, not that I have any problem with recycling or reusing things, or, getting rid of like single use plastics. But thinking back on all of that and having it all just internalized and then reinforced almost every year to a greater degree, you start getting into high level science classes in high school and stuff, and you start talking about like the effects of methane gas on the environment. I remember when I was a kid, it was like, there's a hole in the ozone layer and we're never going to patch it. I don't think that I've heard about the ozone layer since before 9/11.
No,
So
because it patched itself.
yeah.
I just wanted to add quickly, Marcus, before you start spraying away, right? And bearing in mind, I've come from a funky background. A lot of the spaces that I've talked in, there's like probably like an ideology of me. But I do want to add something that many people don't know about me, right? And I'll tell it to you guys now. The thing that I was most good at, especially when I was at school, is fucking science, right? And a lot of my common sense and knowledge was applied towards science. All the other subjects, whether it be maths, spoken English, and DT or whatever, all the other subjects that I studied in was absolute doo-doo. But my science, for a kid like me who was like an attention-seeking clown, I was the clown of the class, always the idiot. But my grades in science were phenomenal. And ever since my childhood, I've always excelled and always studied science, right? And weather, phenomenons, clouds, all this sort of shit has always, outside of AMC, has been my forte. I love this shit. I study it for a living. I always say to my missus, oh my God, look at the sky. Just look at these clouds. Look at these cloud formations. Fuck the candle formations. Look at the clouds. On a bright sunny day, I put my sunglasses on. I sit in my garden, drink my pina colada and look at the damn clouds rolling on, you know? And it sounds stupid, right? But that is literally it. And when it comes to global warming, yeah, and the agenda that is getting pushed behind it, is such a questionable thing. And if anyone wants to ask any questions and have a debate as to why I don't believe global warming is a thing, now is your opportunity to ask whatever you doubted and whatever your thoughts are. Ask it now, and I'll openly have a debate with you, and I will give you knowledge and answers that will back up a defense based upon why I think global warming is a load of bullshit. And I swear to God, I will give you that respectfully. And if you give me some DD and some shit that questions my knowledge, I will take that on the chin, hopefully and respectfully, because I'm not right and I'm not wrong. It's just an idea, an opinion, like, and I always base my shit on common sense and what I believe. And it all started for me as a kid when someone once said to me, "What the fuck are chemtrails?" And I started looking into what the fuck are chemtrails, and that is where it started for me, and I'll leave it there.
So first to start off, I'm just gonna say I do believe in climate change, but since we're debating about the ice breaking off, I wanted to ask: is there any proof, facts against or for that the ice could have been moved from tectonic plates? Because as you know, like, we used to live in a world with Pangea where every continent was connected, and then we slowly moved away. So could the ice be moving because of tectonic plates?
I'd love to answer that question for you, Supreme, and you've only got to go on Google and Google the Earth's weather momentum. I mean, there's a word for it. I call it the weather momentum, but on a long-term basis, we'd call it the weather change, right? And back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of years ago, before you, before me, before like grandparents that you never even knew that existed, that was about to make you through fucking, right? This is how long ago it was. And this is dated in factual data. The ice caps, the North Pole, the South Pole, they were like on the borderline of disappearing, right? Now, several hundred years later, same thing's happening again. And MSM, the narrative, is calling it global warming. Oh shit, there's something that's happening that we all need to be worried about. And we've got to do something about it. But the weather cycles are not only yearly, Supreme, and I've looked into this so many times. They're not only yearly, they are like bigger than generations. And bear this in mind, right? Bear this in mind, it really does apply. You look at a 1 minute chart on the stock market, you look at a 5 minute chart. Not many people look at the 1 day chart or the weekly chart. Who the fuck looks at a monthly and a yearly chart? Depending on what it is you're trying to do. But who looks at the yearly and monthly chart? But this is the same narrative, right? When you zoom out and you look at the information that's out there, especially based on global warming and weather, you really got to zoom out to see the bigger picture. Because when you look at weather on a 100 yearly chart, right, you see a pattern. There's a pattern emerging. The northern hemisphere tends to have more tropical weather, and the southern hemisphere tends to have more of the shitty, miserable weather. And the equator is just like an ozone. We don't know what the fuck's going on. And the equator should be the hottest place on the earth because the sun's closest to the equator. And I have studied weather for a very long time, and there is patterns within weather that are so uncanny, so questionable. Like, it is so open to debate. It's not fact. It's not science fiction. You know, it's so open to debate. What I'm saying is not truth. What I'm saying is speculation based on common sense. So I implore anyone who has any knowledge on this same subject to question me, you know, and I say that open-heartedly. Everything I'm saying is open to debate. It's not fact. It is just surmising of information that is put there from the past. And research basically means to find something that was already there, and that is what it is. And listen, the internet has become such a powerful tool. You've only got to Google information and you can find 100 yearly weather patterns. And I found that. And I thought it was very uncanny, what the information that I found.
Jake, do you have a question? Thank you, Freaky. That was very informative. I'm gonna pick your brain probably more on a later date about all this because I have some theories too. Jake, you're up.
Yeah, Rafiki, I love what you're saying, man. And my big question in regards to global warming, climate change is why is it that the population is always blamed for climate change and not the people that are producing the machines and systems that are actually contributing to the climate change? So it seems like we're always on the losing end of the stick here and we're bearing the brunt and the cost of all of this. Doesn't
Do
make
you know
any
what? Do you
sense,
know what,
man.
Jake? You've asked a question and you've almost answered it yourself, to put it quite bluntly. And the reason why you've answered it yourself is the same reason why we have witnessed the manipulation and the fuckery within the stock market time and time again. And I have said this many, many months ago, right? Whether it be in tweets or talking to a friend or whatever, I've always, and I told you a little bio about me, right? I was always brought up and had the notion that I'm to not trust what I am told to trust, if that makes sense. And basically the answer to my question, the answer to your comment on my part would be that, and let me break it down into layman terms, right? This is really something stupid that I'm about to say, but it says 1,000 words, right? It says 1,000 words, and I'll break it down into this stupid level of information. Tell, lie, vision, right? We'll break that into a couple of words. Tell, lie, vision, television, the narrative that we always get given via TV, right? And if you've got foreign friends in America who maybe live in these mad countries that you guys are always getting news from, and you talk to your foreign friends, there has to be some of you guys that have experienced this, because I fucking have. I've got friends in other countries that English news is giving me news on. And when I talk to the people in them countries, they're like, well, hold on a minute, what your news is telling you ain't true. And it basically boils down to this, right? I'm not going to get too conspiracy theory and tinfoil hat, but the one thing that I have come to realize is the world treats retail people, the bottom of the heap, like they're fucking idiots. And it breaks my heart because I tweeted this a long time ago, right? I said that we are the backbone of the earth. You know, whether you're working at your local grocery store, when people come to that store and they want to buy food and shit and crap, you're serving them. It's because of you that they're able to buy their stuff, right? You know, when you look at the basics and the bottom of the pyramid, if someone wants to build a fence in their garden, they go to their local timber yard. It's ultimately one of us that serves them and tells them this is the thickness of wood that you need to do your shit. And if that ain't the case, if it's a bigger job, like a construction site or whatever, you've got an idiot that is just like you and me, that's a contracts manager, and he does the same shit that one of us might have done, but just maybe like a smarter version of an idiot ape, you know? It's the same sort of narrative. Like the whole pyramid structure of society is based upon the dependence of how dumb they think we are. And that narrative is changing within AMC and the stock market. And what I'm
Wait a
seeing
minute,
in hindsight, like
Hey,
whether it's
hey
global
guys.
warming.
Hey guys,
Rafiki, are you
I have to step out because I have to get up early in the morning and take a client fishing in the mountains. Thanks again, Kenna, for having me up to speak a little bit or whatever. And everybody have a great night. And Monday morning's coming. Love y'all
For
and
sure.
be safe
Thank you,
out there.
Marcus. Thanks, Marcus. Have fun fishing. And I hope I see you tomorrow night because we'll be back here again tomorrow
Hey,
night.
Marcus.
See you,
I
Marcus.
just want you to know, right?
See
I'm
you,
an
Marcus.
avid fisherman, and I hope you catch the best fucking fish, my brother. Fish on. Let's go.
Rafiki, are you saying that the media might not be telling the truth to us?
No, no. Yes and no. I'm not going to bullshit you. Yes and no. Because
That
I
was
don't want to be that guy.
that was a rhetorical question or like a snarky statement. Basically saying that I agree with you there that I don't think
I'm more than happy to answer a rhetorical question, right? And I'll answer that rhetorical question based on this. And this is what it's based upon. And this is like another little anecdote that I'm going to tell you guys. Even though if you don't want to hear it, just tell me to shut up. I'll mute my mic and I'll listen to you guys talk. No problem. I've got no drama in that because I do take into retrospect that I really do talk a lot of shit. But my little anecdote based on your question, right? One day I was attending secondary school. This is middle school. This is like year 7, year 8. I think I was about 12, 13 years old. I've just left primary school, started big boy school, you know, started meeting girls, doing the big boy things. Year 7. And I come home one day. And this is where it all started for me, right? I swear to God, I thought it was a fucking movie on the TV, right? I was seeing the 9/11 towers coming down to the fucking ground. And as I was watching this news footage, I was like, is this a film? Is this like Yippee-Ki-Yay, motherfucker? Is this a Bruce Willis film? What the fuck is going on here? I didn't have a clue. Jake, I swear to God, brother, the way I'm telling it to you is my truth. I didn't have a clue what was going on. I come on, like it was just literally the news. The Twin Towers were coming down in America, and I thought it was a
I
daytime
was in
movie.
middle school when that happened, man. I was also in the
No,
same
but
boat.
and this is where all the bullshit and what I'm talking about tonight stems from. For me personally, this doesn't apply to anyone or anybody within any of these space calls. This is all solely on me, right? This is me. Like I haven't really got a bio on Twitter, but this is me giving you my bio, basically, right? And when I felt like I was becoming a man was the day that I come home from school and I saw this news feed on TV, right? And I thought it was like a really cool film. And when I come home and I began to watch the news footage, it got disturbing. It got a bit fucked up. The reality hit home, and it was quite hard to follow for a young kid from the UK that just wanted to blaze zoots with his pals. And blazing zoots with his pals means exactly what you think it means, right? And this is a 13, 14-year-old. And as the story unfolded, I didn't think nothing of it. 2 years passed by. So it happened September 11th, blah, blah, blah. A couple of years passed by. And then I started looking into the government and the tinfoil hat shit further. It doesn't apply. You know, whether you think the Illuminati is real or not, again, this shit doesn't apply. But the principle that I'm trying to tell you is over the last 25, 40 years, there's an emerging pattern, right? And the thing that makes that emerging pattern for me personally more validified, more so than ever, is when Biden walked away from that last discussion. So when he done that, I then looked at the last 20 years worth of history, and I started questioning MSM all over again, and I find it really interesting because listen, guys, bear this in mind, right? I've only got you guys to ask and question about this. I could talk to my missus about it all day long. I could talk to her about politics and shit and crap to high heaven all day long. She's only got so many words to tell me. I don't know. What do you think? And I'm like, well, I don't want to think. I want to know what you think. She ain't got shit to say. I talked to my pal that I was talking about earlier on in another space school that was willing to paper hand AMC, even though he was the one that told me about AMC. When I talked to him about politics, he's like, well, I don't know. What do you know? No one knows fuck all. I think what I think. You guys think what you think. And this is the amazing part of it all. When people start sharing their ideas and opinions on a matter, that's when you start uncovering truth. And this is the point that I'm trying to make, right? It doesn't matter whether I'm right or wrong. I share my opinion on a small matter, and then other people might want to come in and chime in and talk their truth and their opinions on the matter. And then you get other people that want to come in and chime in. And Pete G, what the fuck has happened to Bishop, bruv? Because I swear to God, it was him that turned around and
Okay,
said that it is through brainstorming and through shit ideas and bad ideas that good ideas come
Rafiki,
to fruition. And I'm sure it was Bishop that said that. And I haven't seen
Rafiki,
Bishop for a very long time.
Rafiki. We're not gonna attack people, just so you know, because we are still live on YouTube, and we're just not gonna do that in our spaces. Cool. But no, you are absolutely correct. And the fact that we do need to, come together as a global community, right? Like that is the best thing that we have right now that goes for, what has happened with
Do you know what? Do you know
ACGME.
what it boils down
Hold
to?
on.
And I'm really sorry to break you down and interrupt. Once I've finished what I'm saying, I'm literally going to shut the fuck up and listen to you guys for the rest of the night because I really want to hear your voices. But do you know what it breaks down to, Kenna? It breaks down to the fact that human beings have got common sense. That is it. That is all. We have common sense. You can't treat an idiot like an idiot.
So some more than others.
No,
But yeah,
the majority of the ape community is so much full of common sense. It gives me that hope that I need. And,
oh yeah,
and that
no,
is why I love the ape
that's
community, because I attract what I am like, and that is what I believe. I would never have spoken to you guys in a million years because, to be fair, I was terrified of coming out from my rock and talking to random people. Like, it was a bit alien to me. The only other scenario that I've done this with was like maybe within gaming, playing Call of Duty on my Xbox or Ark or whatever game I was involved in. Like, that was my comfort zone. That was my little thing. And for me to come out and do this with you guys and to meet and see so many like-minded apes, it really does go to show that common sense exists, and it has to fucking exist, because you can't treat people like they're fucking born yesterday. I weren't born yesterday, and I refuse to be treated like I was.
100%. No, I agree. And I'm happy that you're able to come up here and talk and, speak your truths. And, everyone, I think that's the thing that we miss a lot of the time is that everybody's truths are a little bit different because we all live different lives. We've all had different experiences and, we live in different areas of the world. So the news that you see is different from the news that I see, is different from the news that the Canadians and the Asians, all of our news networks, they portray different ideas and ideologies. And so, this is how we get to truths, is basic average people talking to one another about our experiences, what we actually see in the world versus what the media is telling what's going on. Because someone from Florida, you would think we had bodies in the streets right now. I mean, how they portray how COVID is being treated down here, and you would think people are just in the streets dying. And
I heard. I
I'm
mean, it's not true.
This is not true, guys.
Are you
This
sure?
is I'm pretty sure. I live, everyone knows I'm in the Tampa Bay area, and it's a pretty big metro area. And no, we're doing okay. The kids are in school. My neighbor kids they're out playing and everything. So, no, I think it's okay. Now, do we have cases? Yes, but so does the rest of the world, right? Like,
Right.
it's, whatever. So this is where we get to truths. This is, I can say how I see things, and Jay gets to say things how he sees it, and Jake and Rafiki's in a different part of the world, which is, I think, awesome. Like, I mean, think about that. Like, if we had this ability to talk, back in like the Great Depression area, or even in the 1970s and 80s, and even back in '08, like, we could have actually gotten to the information of saying, hey, they're fucking up. We need to put a stop to this before we get screwed. This is what we need to be able to do. We need to be able to have the adult conversations. We need to be able to listen to one another without fighting against each other, because it doesn't solve anything, right? And and Rafiki, I know you're new here, but like, my biggest thing is communication is the first step to understanding. I was drilled into my head as a child, and it's 100% true, because if you can't listen to other people and you only get into your own brain, then you don't evolve. We can't evolve society, and that's what we need. We need a new evolution.
Right.
So
If
no,
you if I could bounce over that, if you just go with the just trust me, bro mentality, you're not going to get anywhere.
No,
oh God, no.
it's all about
I'm all
facts
about.
and trying to disprove one another. I think, I'm sorry, Kenna, but that is the biggest point of discussions, right? If you disagree with something, your biggest right is to throw out your thoughts and your opinions to try and disprove someone, right? So if I'm turning around and saying to someone, I think 9/11 was bullshit. I think COVID was
I
bullshit.
wasn't
I think
actually
it's
saying that I was
disgusting.
trying to disprove anybody. I was just saying the whole trust
No,
me,
no,
bro mentality.
no,
You know what I mean?
I'm saying it respectfully. Question mark at hashtag percentage whatever. I'm saying it respectfully. Like there is nothing wrong, right? There is nothing wrong in shunning and calling people out. And what I'm saying is, if someone says like a bold statement, right? Especially a lot of the shit that I come out with, there is nothing wrong with anyone saying, well, hold on a minute, shut the fuck up. Can you back your shit up and tell me why you're saying what you're saying? There's nothing wrong with that. And I've always lived by that sword, if that makes sense. Like by the sword where if you're going to tell me some shit that makes sense to my common sense mind, my hindsight, my living self, my conscious self, you know, we've all got our subconscious selves, we've got our deep one self, how they say that. You can be esoteric, you can be whatever the fuck you want to be in life. But all I'm saying is when it plays down to common sense, right, and someone says something to someone else that makes just general common sense, but you might not want to believe it too much and you have questions about what this person's saying. So it might be anything that I'm saying, right? There is nothing wrong with
You gotta
asking
verify
questions
it for
and
yourself.
having a mad heated debate about it. And I am always 10 times out of 10 down for a mad debate where I want to be questioned. I almost want to be proved wrong because one thing that I suffer with, right, is the fact that I'm always fucking right. And this is like a burden of mine.
That is a tough burden to be always right, man. Jesus.
It's a burden of mine. Whether it be such a simple thing like a judgment of character, someone that you shut up. It's my bird telling me to shut up in it because it's really early in the morning and I'm talking kind of loud. But it's like if you meet someone and you judge a sausage by its skin, right? Which is a very bad thing to do. You should never judge a sausage by its skin. But that's like my gift. I'm able to do that. I've got a lot of hindsight, and this community has taught me a massive lesson. And that lesson is you've got more to learn about yourself than you ever knew, if that makes sense. You know, no one is an island. There's bigger people than you out there. There's so many more opinions, and sometimes you can be wrong.
100%. Hey, Can't Stop, did you have something that you wanted to add in?
Yeah, I actually have like two things in reference to like the whole climate change thing. So I don't know if anybody's ever watched Cowspiracy on Netflix. It's like a documentary. Talks about this guy going around. I forgot his name. Goes around and they talk about how it's really the poultry and the cattle industry that fucks up the climate the most. Like it's like 80 or 85% what causes the whole climate to be all fucked up.
The methane gas from cows and farming.
Yeah, like their shit, fucking tearing down the trees for more fucking cow, like
Well,
all that shit.
could I just add to that?
It's a really
Can't
good
stop. You see the trees in that, yeah, and this is a scientific fact. The trees love carbon and they love methane. The trees thrive when the sun sets. They suck the shit out of carbon within the atmosphere, right? And the fact that they charge tax in countries like New Zealand and that for methane because the cows are farting. They charge tax because the cows fart in countries like New Zealand. Like that is fucked up to me, bruv. And if you look at that,
What is the tax per fart? Do you know?
I'm not sure about the figures and the factual shit and the deepness of the deepness. I'm not even gonna entertain you with that. But what I do know is right, which is fact, and this is 100% fact, how trees and the atmosphere, the ozone layer, is able to deal with methane exchanges, right? And that is something that I know for a fact. And I touched on this point earlier on. I was academically, on paper, a stupid fucking kid. But when it comes to science and the understanding of the world, I academically excelled. You know, that was my little niche. That was my little forte. I always had like the gift of hindsight within me. And I always loved, absolutely fucking loved the subject of science and how the world worked, what the universe was, you know, all the inner depths of shit. And none of the MSM made sense to me. Like, how can you tell me that trees like carbon, and yet we're emitting so much of it, and the trees can't cope? That's not a fact. You know, we're now so more than ever, we're planting more trees than what we're cutting down due to the little acts and ordinances that have been put in here and there by Americans, the UK, the Russians, any country you want to name, right? Any amount of trees they cut down. And the biggest one is spruce wood. And I'm a scaffolder. And the boards that they provide scaffolders with is spruce wood. It's a quick growing tree. And any tree that grows quick produces oxygen. It sucks in carbon, produces oxygen. It's as simple as that. You could cut one tree down, and within 2 years, you've literally got another tree. You know, there's a lot. Our botanical knowledge is so much more advanced than what the MSM tells you what it is. You know, the Amazon is the lungs of the world, but they're not telling you how damaged the Amazon is. The
Yeah, I
Amazon
mean,
is
I
pretty
don't
much untouched. You know, it's your local forests that are
I don't
getting.
know if you have this problem in the UK with suburbs, but over here in the US, we have this weird fascination with cutting down trees and then building suburbs and then naming the streets of the suburbs after the trees that they cut down. Like, you know, Sycamore Street,
Yeah,
Maple Avenue.
and do you know
Like,
what, HamBone? It doesn't matter how much all this bullshit goes on, right? They can cut down as many trees as they want to make a little bit of space of land for human beings that are multi-breeding. We're losing the flock. We're fucking like there's no tomorrow. We're breeding like fuck. That's okay. All right. I don't look at films like Matrix and Matrix says, oh, human beings are the maggot of the world. We're just sucking it dry of resources. No, that is not the case.
no, I don't
That
think
is
so.
not the case, HamBone. I do not believe in that shit in any way,
No,
shape, or
no,
form
no.
because,
See,
and this is why, right? This is why I don't believe in that shit. Is because the Earth is a lot bigger than these people make out that it is, right? So if you look at the maps, the flight path to this, to that, you could look into many different theories and ideologies. The Earth is huge. There's a lot of green spaces that haven't even been taken up yet, and they're making out like we're running out of so much shit, and we're like a disease. They keep putting this implementation
oh
like
yeah, it's so odd. Like, you know, like you're saying all that, and like I had this thought before. Like, you know, all this guilt that is placed upon everybody, it sounds like, from a very young age, like almost as soon as you go into school, into public schooling, that's what they want to talk about, it seems like, is, oh, you need to, you know, you need to do this and this, conserve water, you know, don't leave the sink or the faucet running while you're brushing your teeth. You know, it's, yeah, you know, at some point, yes, we need to take care of where we live, we need to take care of our planet. But to me, the way I sum it up is I believe in climate change,
well,
yes, but I
can
don't
I ask
believe
you
in
this,
climate
Hambone? Do they
catastrophe.
play
I don't believe in
advertising in America,
catastrophe.
right? Hambone, I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but I agree with you 100,000%. And here's a little question for you, right? A little conundrum, a little ting, just a little sideline ting, right? In America, do they
Hmm.
advertise to American people on their national television? Can you send £2 a month to Africa to give these people wells and water because they're fucked? They ain't got shit. Do they do that in
Yeah,
America?
you know, to emphasize the amount of guilt that
Yes.
you know, I don't know, I can't speak for
No, but
everybody,
I'm
but just
saying
the amount of
when you
guilt
watch
that I
television,
felt off
right,
of
in
something.
between programs and that, they
Rafiki,
advertise
Rafiki.
to donate £2 a month to Africa to build some
Oh
wells.
yeah,
They've been
yeah,
doing
we.
this for the last 20 years in England. And I'm thinking to myself, right, based on MSM, is it really took you 20 fucking years to dig a hole in the ground and give these people water? And this is where I've said to myself, do you not really think I'm that fucking stupid? And the government have been doing this for fucking years. They've been creating and causing wars, you know, and it's always the people that ultimately sit back and think, "Do you know what? Do what you got to do. It's okay." You know, does America advertise to donate £2 a month to the Africans for water? Because
Oh
the
yeah,
Europe
oh yeah.
and UK,
I remember
it
when I was a
pisses me off.
kid, I I remember when I was a kid, I felt so guilty from those commercials, and I'm not saying that to be like, you know, shocking or anything like that. Like, I literally worked myself into a near panic whenever I was like, I think I was about 5 years old. There was at the cash register to this restaurant that I went to with my grandparents. There was one of the drop boxes for, you know, you could put your spare change into it for the children of Africa, or something like that. For some reason, I had gotten it like just misconstrued in my head what that meant. I thought for some reason somebody was going to pick me up and take me to Africa, and I was going to start digging wells. Like, but you know, I mean, I can't come up with a rational reason why I had that thought, other than the fact that, you know, just the little bits and pieces of media here and there, that, you know, the commercials, you know, the little boxes by the cash register when you're checking out at a restaurant,
Yeah,
the
and
the
HamBone,
little
right?
things like that, like it all just kind of is almost like an overt subliminal
Mm.
message. If you
And
know,
I'll
I know
tell
that
you this
sounds
for
like an
nothing,
oxymoron, but
HamBone, right? I'll tell you this for nothing. Yeah, I like a lot of people know that I've worked in construction, right? I was a part of the Bloomberg European headquarters, right? I helped this dickhead build his building in London, Europe. And believe me, there's a lot of fucked up stories I can tell you about this job that I worked on in terms of banter, right? In terms of banter, which you'll find hilarious, but I don't think this is appropriate. But based on what you were saying about what you know about all the stuff that we're talking about, right? This is how sad it is, HamBone. And bear this in mind, just to put it into perspective, right? We're all in an AMC play to do our thing, do our grind, and be happily ever after, right? And for me personally, that happily ever after means so much more. And the so much more that it means is the education of the community becoming more savvy about what the stock market is and how psychologically involved the indicators are. And
yeah,
and we're just going
yeah.
to absolutely ruin, obliterate, and so to speak, rape, if you like, which is a terrible word that I never wanted to use, but to a point, we're going to rape the fucking stock market to such a degree where it is no longer to benefit the 1%, you know? And that is what my hopes are for after all this. But based on what I was saying 2 minutes
No,
ago on the MSM and what is happening in the news, Iraq, to this, to that, like, am I the only idiot, right, that watches the MSM that are telling me that Africa still needs £2 a month from me to build a well that you were trying to build 20 months ago, right? Or when I was 7 years old and I'm now 31, and you're still trying to dig that fucking well. This is the shit that I see on the UK TV. I ain't even got a clue what you Americans see on your television in terms of the charities that want you to donate to whatever the fuck it is they're asking
yeah.
for. Like, listen, we might all go to Messels and that and cook a tramp.
Our household is a little bit less subjected to advertising and stuff because we don't have cable. You know, it's by choice. We don't want it. There's nothing good really to watch. Anything that I want to watch, I can find online. But no, I mean, I think kind of relating all this, you know, to where we are as just our little community here with BullHouse, you
Well,
know, we have that same end goal
well,
that you have. We
yeah,
want people to
absolutely,
be able to
HamBone.
have the toolbox
Absolutely.
ready to, uh, you know, just kind of analyze whatever information they get. You know, that could be about the stock market, it could be about housing markets, it could be about just,
All right. Well,
you know,
let me put it
general
into
world
another
issues.
perspective
But
for you, HamBone, which is another thing that really frustrates me. Right? Let's talk about billionaires. Right. Let's talk about billionaires. You talk about how many seconds are there in a year, right? And if we put that in perspective of time and money, right? How many billions of seconds are there in a year? It's a long fucking time. And why does any human being need to be a billionaire? You got your Jeff Bezos, your this, your that. They've got so much fucking money. These things they're putting on TV, like you need to build Zimbabwe a well because they ain't got no water to drink. Yet we've got billionaires in the world. You know, just to put it into a common sense perspective, this is how messed up the world is. So how can someone have X amount of money and the rest of the world still have fuck all. And when you take into account that X amount of money, it is like really and truly such a ridiculous amount. And bearing in mind, there's only 7 billion people in the world, but this dude's got like 30 plus billion. So he's got enough money to give every person in the world several £1,000,000. But yet there's still famine and war and bullshit going on in the world. So really, you've got to ask yourself these common sense questions. How is that even possible? Do these people give a shit? Because I know for a fact, right, if I was super and filthy rich, or any one of you AMC shareholders was super and filthy rich, would you allow that to be a thing? If you was that fucking rich?
Absolutely not. I think, and I think that's what, I like to think that's what we're all here
No, but
for.
this is what I'm saying.
And I
We're all
assume
talking
that's
about
what we're
Hold
here
on.
Elon Musk and
for.
this
Hey,
and that, but what are these fuckers doing with
Rafiki,
the riches they've really got? They're doing nothing.
you asked him a question. Let him answer the question. You keep asking questions and you don't let him answer. So how are we going to get any kind of communication going?
No, it's fine. I'm getting pretty.
All right. So we are actually on that note going to start wrapping this up, guys. So my final thoughts for the day, because just like me, my husband has a thing with his vocal cords where he can only talk for so long before we both just kind of get too tired with our speaking. So I appreciate everyone tuning in today. It has been a epic conversation. We've covered a lot of ground. We covered some broad market stuff. We covered global stuff. HamBone, you nailed it today. Like I am so excited that he's having his own segment on Saturdays, guys. This is what we're gonna be doing. He'll get the rhythm of it. I promise you. That and more talking points in the sense of basically ideas of what he wants to talk about. Like right now, he's actually working on a PDF file to share with the community every week or every other week or so. We're going to be doing these PDF files, and once I have the website up and running for the BullHouse, they're going to be archived on there. Okay, so this week's with any of the kind of interesting news or stock market stuff. That'll be on there, whatever he's found. So that's just going to be a really cool little I don't even want to call it a pamphlet because it has a table of contents on it. So a weekly newsletter is what he's calling it. So look for that. He'll tweet it out and I'll retweet it and everything once it's ready. Other than that, just be kind. We're on the weekend, guys. We know what the weekends bring. It's just be kind to one another. We don't need any weird stuff. I'm back on tomorrow, so if you need a regular place to hang out, I'm here. Tomorrow starts our NFT week. We are going to be talking about NFTs for an entire week, but I do have a very special announcement that I was able to get in touch with a macroeconomist that writes has written for Newsweek, and he is a wealth of knowledge. He's out of London. I'm not going to share a name just yet because I want to make that announcement. But know that we have Thursday. That is the only non-NFT day that we have, which is going to be interesting because I know I saw some of the Poopsie gang in here. They're on Friday. I still haven't figured out what I'm going to call that show on Friday. Next Sunday, we have Turbo and his group with their awesome interactive NFTs that they've been creating. We have a open mic. Actually, that is tomorrow. Open mic tomorrow for anyone that is in NFTs. If you have any knowledge, please come up and talk. I would greatly appreciate it. Monday podcast, guys, you have us every day for the next 9 days, by the way. I hope you realize this. Monday is all about content, NFT content creators. So anybody that creates NFTs, I need you up here. Get a hold of me. Cool. And then we have Tuesday. Okay, so I take that back. Tuesday, Tyson, first strike veteran. He has an awesome interview that he is doing with Penny Queen. I did it that time. I keep wanting to call her Queen Penny. I don't know why, but Penny Queen, he has his new segment on Tuesday, 10 p.m. that he is going to be hosting. Wednesday, goodness, another NFT day. I'm going to butcher that one. Again, Thursday, 1 p.m. That's a special time because he is in London. We have that interview Friday. Poopsie Gang Saturday is again with HamBone. He's going to be covering more NFT stuff. And then Sunday we have Turbo. And then we go back into Monday and who knows what we're going to be talking about. So yeah, we have a bunch of stuff coming up. So you guys asked for more BullHouse. Well, guys, buckle up. We are on. And I'm going to probably fall asleep in a couple weeks. But I appreciate everyone being here and I will see you guys again.
I just wanted to say, Kenna, before you shut this off, I really thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to talk shit yet again, because I think that is what Rafiki does best. Just talks absolute comical shite, really does shake up opinions and shit and crap. And again, Kenna, the NFT chat, I really would love to get involved in that, but I don't know if people would probably want me to get involved because I do talk too much, and I can appreciate that. But do you know what, Kenna? I want to thank you. That's what I want to say. Thank you and good night. You're the hostess, the mostess, you know.
Thank you, Rafiki. Thanks for coming on and keep it interesting because we've all gotten some really great laughs. I appreciate it. Now